In the Texas Hill Country, a new kind of ranch is being built. Not a hunting operation, not a pasture full of deer left to graze. Something more deliberate, more disciplined. Hill Country Axis, a controlled breeding program designed from the ground up to produce elite axis deer genetics for generations to come. And at the center of that program is nutrition, because genetics establish potential. Nutrition determines how much of that potential is realized. This is Chapter 8, the Nutrition and Herd Health Manual, the feeding standard for Hill Country Axis.
Axis deer are not white-tailed deer. They are not cattle. They are mid-sized cervids, originally from the Indian subcontinent, with specific nutritional demands that generic deer programs simply do not meet. At Hill Country Axis, 90 to 95% of all nutrition is delivered. Pens are exercise areas, not pastures. Every day, a single person walks the central feed lane, servicing all 25 breeding pens from the outside without ever entering an animal's space. Covered gravity feeders, hay racks, mineral stations, automatic waterers. Clean, consistent, controllable. A mature breeding doe consumes roughly 2.5 to 3.5 pounds of dry matter each day. A lactating doe at peak demand needs more, and she gets it. A breeder buck growing velvet needs elevated protein and trace minerals, and the program delivers them. The ration is not the same for every animal.
In the limestone soils of the Hill Country, certain minerals are simply not there. Zinc, copper, manganese, selenium. These four trace elements, the foundation of antler growth, reproductive success, immune function, and fawn viability, are deficient in native forages across this region. A velvet antler in its peak growth phase is one of the fastest growing tissues in the animal kingdom, and it runs on zinc. Copper gives it color and density. Manganese builds the bone structure underneath. And selenium is what keeps the doe's fawn from being born weak. White muscle disease, low birth weight, poor immune response, these are the consequences of selenium deficiency, and they are preventable. Hill Country Axis runs a complete cervid mineral program, free choice loose minerals at every station, targeted selenium support for late gestation does in the 30 days before fawning, annual blood panels to verify the program is working. The velvet season, February through August, demands the most. Protein elevated to 18 to 22%. Zinc pushed to 60 to 80 parts per million. The entire ration reconfigured around a single biological event. Because trophy antlers are not luck. They are the result of managing hundreds of small things correctly for years.
9 groups. That is how Hill Country Axis feeds its herd. Not one ration for every animal, 9 distinct programs, because a lactating doe at peak milk production has nothing nutritionally in common with a yearling buck growing his first set of antlers. Breeding does, late gestation does, lactating does, replacement females, breeder bucks, developing bucks, weaned fawns, bottle-raised fawns, and quarantine animals. Every new arrival, every sick or recovering animal, housed separately and managed on a dedicated protocol. Each group has a target body condition score, a target protein level, a target energy density. And when those targets are not met, the ration changes. Not the whole herd, not at once, one group at a time, on a 14-day transition schedule that protects the rumen and creates a clear record of what changed, when, and why. This is not how most deer operations run. At most ranches, the feeder truck comes, the feeder gets filled, and whatever the deer can reach is what they get. Here, nutrition is managed, actively, deliberately, as a competitive advantage.
Clean water is a nutrient. That is not a slogan. It is an operating principle at Hill Country Access. Restrict water for a single day during a Texas summer and feed intake drops, milk production drops, fawn growth drops, the rumen slows, stress climbs. Every pen runs an automatic waterer on a buried supply line, monitored at every morning feeding, documented in the daily log. In summer, a lactating doe and her fawn may consume nearly twice the winter baseline. The system is built for that. And then there is body condition scoring, a number from 1 to 5. 1 is emaciated, an emergency. 5 is obese, a different kind of problem. 3 is ideal for a breeding doe. 3.5 entering fawning season. 4.0 for a breeder buck walking into rut. These numbers are not estimated. They are scored, every animal every month. Late gestation and lactating does every 2 weeks. Any animal that changes behavior at feeding time gets scored that same day. Because body condition is the scorecard for the nutrition program. If the numbers are right, the program is working. If they are not, something changes.
Every decision made at Hill Country Access is documented, not just what was decided, but why. What the question was, what the options were, what the recommendation was, and what the human chose. 26 decisions now govern this operation. Decision 2. Nutrition is managed at 90 to 95% delivered feed. Decision 3. The central feed lane design services all 25 pens. Decision 4. This ranch is run to Fortune 500 standards. The nutrition program is not a set of guidelines. It is a governed operating standard, with decision cards, KPI dashboards, transition protocols, and risk controls that make the feeding program auditable from the first day of operation. Because someday, a member of this family who is not here for the founding conversations will need to run this ranch. They will need to understand not just what to feed, but why the program was built the way it was. The decision register is that record. The nutrition manual is that standard. Together, they are the institutional memory of Hill Country Access, built to outlast any single person. That is the purpose of documentation at this level, not paperwork, legacy.
This is the Hill Country Access Nutrition Manual, Chapter 8 of 20. Version 2. 11 sections, 20 tables, 9 production groups, 47 individual standards covering intake, minerals, water, body condition, risk controls, and performance reporting. It does not exist to be read once and filed away. It exists to be used every morning, at every pen, on every feeding pass down the lane. It will be revised, improved, handed down. And somewhere in Menard, Texas, the pens are being built, the feed lane is being planned, the foundation does are being selected, and one day soon, the first Axis fawn born under this program will take its first steps and eat its first creep feed and become the first proof that the standard works. Hill Country Access, building the future of Texas axis deer.